It's after hours somewhere. It is here. I'm here with the great Mr. George. How are you all doing today? And how are you, Mr. George?
Well, I'm as well as can be, given the circumstances. We, of course, both were on earlier Horace Live, speaking to Unwashed and Shazia, helping co-host the Memorial for Simon. So, yeah, I'm sure you guys could tell Jason and I just wanted to use this after hours, as we sometimes do on Tuesday nights, to really be informal, not have too much of a specified topic list, or obviously not a guest, and see what comes up, but mainly give the chat an opportunity to also talk about Simon. So you can write in comments and questions about that situation. So I guess, a lot of people in the movement in these circles right now are just looking for celebrating him and maybe getting some sense of closure on it. It definitely threw some people for a loop. And a lot of comments, I don't know if you saw this, Jason, in the horror stream that we were on a couple of hours ago, was a lot of people were more affected by it than they thought they would be.
Right.
I saw that in more than one place, and I think that might speak to what this is. Sometimes we're disparaged, and we've talked about this a lot, for being online, and that's the nature of the world we live in right now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say that there's a balance with this, as always, and I've said this myself as someone who's a public creator. But you learn from these people. We're learning together, influencing each other, inspiring each other. And that's real. That's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it became very evident to people throughout this circumstance.
Yeah, it really did. This sort of interconnectivity. It's I'll go ahead and use the word plexus or plexiform. When we have all of these content, we have content creators, and really in service to white well-being, we don't have what we see elsewhere in the white positive sphere, thankfully. And that is that we have participants here rather than just content creators and then people who disappear. No, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. There we go. And rather than folks who just watch and disappear, maybe they head on over to Twitter and try to cause trouble or whatever it might be. But in service to white well-being, we are all called upon to be participants. And so I think for those of us who are behaving the way we should be, I mean, we end up looking to folks, the different content creators, as really as brothers and sisters in the cause. And when one of them passes abruptly, when there is no warning, and of course these sorts of things happen, then it is particularly tough for us. And I think that's one of the many reasons that it ends up being difficult, is that there's this connectivity there, that you're depending on this person, you enjoy their take, and then suddenly, and they're reliable, they have something valuable to add, and he had a way certainly to be able to speak with and to people that each one of us is unique in that, and how we're able to reach out to others. And he had a great delivery, spoke to a great many people, made it easy to talk about difficult subjects, and really amiable guy, affable guy. And we really already immediately missed that realization that this brother in service to white well-being is suddenly gone. And I think, and I tried to convey when we were on with Shazia and Horace and Unwashed, that Jared, you and I and Simon, we really had our own little friendship with him, coming on tap and with us, and conversations that we had with him, conversations pre-show, post-show, and he imbibing our content and us doing the same with his. It just, and I use the word avuncular because I think for a lot of us, he was about that age where he is the wise uncle that can give that avuncular advice, and you can rely on him, the kind of uncle you'd want to hang out with, the kind of uncle who cares about our people. You're going to get, and this is the thing, Jared, you touched upon it sagaciously many times. We talk about it, this coming from a place of love. And that's where I clipped out these parts of that conversation, this absolute place of love. You knew that you could go to Simon's house. If he lived down the street, or what, Jared, you and I talked about with Simon, half in jest, half real, about that we were going to head on over and literally go to his house where he is and have dinner with him.
Dinner party or go out, yeah.
Dinner party, and
that's a little postponed.
Until postponed for now, right? Exactly.
Another mode of being we'll have to be in to do that together.
Precisely, yeah. And you knew though that we could have at that dinner table an absolutely splendid meal and smiles and discuss the well-being of our people in love, and how different that and this is what we engender here in Service to White Wellbeing, as opposed to what we see so many places elsewhere in the white positive sphere. In other places you would get around the dinner table and everybody would be talking about how bad everything is and how awful and how angry they should be, and it would be tense. There would be static. But you knew that if you were sitting at Simon's table and you were talking about these very serious issues, everybody would be doing it from a place of love. He'd have a smile on his face, and everybody would go home, hugs everybody would have. And so, yeah, it's postponed is all it is. That dinner is postponed. We'll have it eventually.
It's remarkable how so many people really did say how they felt like they knew him the first time they spoke to him. And that can't be an accident when multiple people who don't know one another that well, and certainly haven't conferred on this particular point, will say, yeah, that guy, I felt like I knew him the first time I spoke to him. That's a real gift that someone has. And I had said the same thing. I remember the first time we had him on tap was in September of 2018. And after the show, you and I said to each other, and that's the sentiment I expressed in the video I did. This is the kind of guy you could just sit all night with and talk about everything and anything, from the sublime to the ridiculous and everything in between. And he could roll with you and be flexible, but also have his times where he punctuates in his certain knowledge and experience, and you just want to sit and absorb it and listen to him. He reminds me a little bit of someone who is in my life, a friend's parent, actually not a man or woman, but she was she's British, so she had come over here to the States, and something about this combination, it's a killer combination, a personality trait of that forthrightness on the one hand, but also this warmth that's right under it. He just had this combination that equated to this charisma that he had, and he was so on point and diligent about what he did, the work that he did. Someone had brought this up on the stream, and I'm glad, I forget who it was. I apologize, I just forget who it was before I came on the horror stream today. But someone said this, I'm glad they did, because it really struck me as well, how he would make these notes, these sometimes lengthy notes prior to going on a stream. Like one of the times he was on tap more recently, because he did 2 in April, just a little over a month ago. And he showed me that he basically made it a site post on his own site, EuropeanFreedom.com, because he made all these notes about what we were going to possibly talk about. So he had this ability also to combine that diligence, the research, obviously, in his own video output that he was doing. Always had some new subject. He had a lot of energy. And, well, I don't want to get too off track. I'll just finish what I was saying first with the notes. It's just that he had that diligence in the preparation, but it just felt like felt like he couldn't go off script. He had that base, but he could be tremendously spontaneous as well. And then what I was about to say, summing all of this up, is just that these traits that he's showing us and the way that he combined them so magically with this gravitas, where he does have that uncle feel that you were talking about, Jason, is really a role model for a lot of us. Because especially when you're young, you're kind of trying yourself things out, and especially in this sphere when everyone has a megaphone, being on Twitter and all the social media, you see, and we're constantly trying to do this. I'm certainly constantly trying to do this, is to sculpt the right combination of approaches and traits where you're still true to yourself. You're still speaking with your own voice. You're authentic, but you're not so skewed to one perspective or one aspect of your personality that it mutes or damages the other parts of your personality. And I don't know if he was always like that. I don't know what he was like when he was in his 20s and 30s, or if it's something that matured with age. But whatever the case may be, we had the gift and the blessing of knowing Simon these last couple of years of his life, and all his public advocacy he did, that we all came to know him for. And whether it was innate or something that he had consciously worked on, or a little bit of both, by the time we knew him, by the time he went public, he had that combination of traits and that balancing act of these different parts of his personality. And it was just amazing, the impact. It speaks to everything we're doing now, shows the impact he had and how effective he was because of the authenticity that he presented and everything that I've been speaking to.
Brilliantly stated. And folks, if you didn't get an opportunity to see that lengthy stream that the Shazia and Horace did, it's going to be up there over on Horace Live. So do get over there when you get an opportunity, and maybe take it piece by piece to get everybody's different takes. Jared gives some really, again, some really wise words and heartfelt words, insightful words about Simon. And I would like, he was really an estimable guy. And I think that is how we should continue that, I guess, that memory of him as an estimable guy that was relatable. I say, what does it look like to be an advocate for white well-being? And what it looks like, I say, is looks like each one of us. And Simon really personified that. He wasn't trying to look like the bad guy in the anti-white narrative. He didn't think that he had to put on some sort of costume or behave a very specific way or talk a very specific way. He wasn't afraid to explore truth wherever it went. And he was, for that, he demonstrated great integrity. And we'll always, I think, we'll always remember him. And while, Mr. George, while you work on your camera there, if you have to step back and then step back in, I'll bring you back.
I think I have a ghost in the machine again, so I'm going to step out and come right back in. Might have to do a little fundraising for a new computer. I don't know. This has been happening too much. Let's see. I'll be right back, and then
All right.
I wanted to highlight something that you brought up that I'm really glad that you did. I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, while Mr. George is getting recalibrated, I will say hello to some of you. Looks like Evidence Violates, the great Seaver Hamlin. Thank you for all of your suggestions. Doing a lot of meeting with me after the stream and sharing with me, this was working, that wasn't working, this is going on in the chat, that wasn't. So a big thank you to Mr. George and to Mr. Hamlin. And Mr. George, I want to say to you that you have shown up in behind stage, backstage, blue room, green room, whatever you want to refer to it as, but it is showing that you have no devices connected. And so I'm not going to, it doesn't even give me the option to bring you into the stream, to bring you out from behind the curtain. So you'll have to give it a go again, back out maybe, and try to log in again. So thank you very much, Mr. Seaver Hamlin. Rum is here. Great to see you, dear lady. And did I mention Art Acrobats? Corey, hello to you. Mark, Arta, Johnny Reb, Mark. I'm sliding through. If I miss your name, it's just because the screen's sliding along and I can't read as fast as those cattle salesmen can talk. Cracker is here. Never Felt Guilty. And Tekar, Elaine Sabatino. Lorenz says hello. Hello to you, dear friends. That Che is here. Hello. And Seaver reminding me of entropy. And I think it's up. Is it working? There's the great Shauna Shaw. Hello, dear lady. And Andre Boston is here. Wonderful to see. Oh, there is Carlisle, dear lady. How are you? Glad to see you here. Mike Anderson writing, hey, my pristine family. Very good use of pristine. And if anybody doesn't know who's watching live or in replay exactly how we use pristine here in service to White Wellbeing, please ask. And someone in the live chat will help you with that. I'll give you a hint. To get my hair cut, I had to drive to a place in Virginia that was more pristine than the one in which I live here right outside the nation's capital. You can make your body pristine by no longer being an alcoholic. Mark says, good day, brothers. And Mike says, No White Guilt has been a champion with those streams. Good grief, man. Such wonderful knowledge and discussion. Love it. I've missed you all, and I'm happy to be back. Well, we're happy to have you back, and thank you very much for the kind words. And Banjo is here saying hello. Eternalism is here. Hello to you. Melody Dawn, hello to you, dear lady. And Justin Lee, the man with the greatest beard ever. And so is Yiz is here. Zeddez is here. Zed, did you see that I showed your neck warmer on going the 7.5 hour going free this past Sunday? The Sunday before we had 8 hours, and then the cranks at YouTube decided to clip off a few seconds to try to rob me of the 8 hours. They must know I'm into sports, and when I was, I'm not into sports now. I don't watch sports, but I was quite the competitor. I still am, just not really into sports anymore. But yes, indeed, we shared it. And let's see, who else? Aaron Kasparov is here. Hello, haven't seen you in a while, brother, along with White Student Transmission. Uga Booga, Mr. Booga is here. Great to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. And if anybody would like to make a statement about Melody Dawn says, hello, handsome. That's sweet of you. Thank you. Bartleby says, hey, old brother. And Seaver lets me know that it's working fine. That, of course, would be. Let me just take a quick look at this. Yes. Okay. Yes. If it continues to be a problem, then we might have to just do a reboot, do a restart, and then if it still doesn't work, we'll go for the phone. But let's see. What was I just, we had, okay, Seaverham, yes, the entropy is working, very good. Now, if you want to tag me, No White Guilt on the No White Guilt channel, Discipline with NWG on that channel, will light things up orange for me, the same way your name is orange when somebody tags you. William Runner is here, great to see you, so's Handsome Horse. And Rufus, and JK160, and Apollo. Higgs Boson says howdy. A lot of great folks showing up. Thin Red Line. If you want to make a comment or you have a question about Simon or about anything, then please tag me or tag Mr. George so that we will see your question or comment. You can do that here on either the YouTube channels. You can also do that on Entropy in the Talk Evan widget. And we already have Volkish Warrior. Great to see you, brother, over there in the Talk Question widget. You all can also financially gift on Cash App or Entropy. And if you have problems on either platform, please let us know so that we can address those with these companies. Laurel is here. Great to see you, dear lady. So we are in I think when it comes to the passing of a hero, and that's really what I want us focused on, I would like us to be focused on, is that we have in Simon, we had a hero. And this is what I am talking about when it comes to striving for glory, a man striving for glory, is that you don't have to be muscle bound. You don't have to wield a sword, metaphorically, of course. But you may, you may be muscle bound. You may be able to throw punches. You may be able to engage in physical combat, but you don't need to be that. And in fact, it takes a lot more courage today to stand at your dinner table with your family and your friends and your daughter that you're trying to reconnect with, and to drop these truth bombs that Simon would drop on them. A big smile on his face. You know that light heart of his was chuckling all the way to the kitchen and back as he knew people were stunned or whatever it was, and the conversation ensued. And he was going to come back with the next dish that I'm sure was ambrosial, fit for the gods. And that takes a lot more courage than to sit in one's easy chair and say, well, when the flag goes up, when the balloon goes up, when it all goes down, all of these sayings and phrases, when all of that happens, then I'm going to be a tough guy, and then I'm going to come out and do something. No. The heroes, those who are striving for glory, and this just is so beautifully, Simon has, as he has exited the stage, he has so beautifully exemplified exactly what I was talking about. This man, this gentle, heroic soul passed as glorious as a man can pass, as gloriously as if he had been at Thermopylae. You don't fight today's battles with a machine gun. You don't fight today's battle. No, this is going to be won in the hearts and minds of people. There is a psychological defense for the psychological warfare. You'll never be able to harm enough people. You'll never be able to, physically or whatever, you'll never be able to do enough damage to the anti-white regime. They want you to go out on that plane because they know they can beat you there, and then they know they can use the anti-white narrative and fit you right into it and demonize everyone who cares about white people. Now, if you want to be a hero, you want to strive for glory, then follow in the footsteps of Simon and people like him, because that is what will bring you glory. That is what will bring you acclaim. Simon will always be remembered, and he'll be one of the names that our descendants will recall. Rest assured, as clear as I'm sitting before you right now, rest assured that they'll be mentioning his name in collegiate level courses in the future somewhere across the West, about how he served a vital role at a vital time in the reclamation of our destiny as a people. So I think we have perhaps Mr. George back with us. Please, sir.
Well, that was beautifully said. I'm on my phone for a moment as my computer restarts. Maybe it just needs a little refreshing. But I wanted to highlight the fact that you played on Horse's stream by just putting the mic up to your other computer, but it worked fine. Very touching, and another demonstration of Simon's spirit, how he made up a melody to this song, these lyrics that appear, I believe, in The Hobbit that Tolkien wrote.
That's
and
right.
Yeah, he did a video this past summer of 2019. The first time, right after the first time Laura Lee was on. Very pleased that he tuned into that episode, apparently.
Yep.
And it touched him, reminded him of his boyhood. He certainly had, even though he ran in different circles when he was younger, and he called himself a default leftist.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't hardcore. He wasn't super political, from what I remember him explaining. But it was just kind of the default position a lot of people, especially people in the arts, we talk about this a lot, seem to fall into. But he went through his journey, as a lot of people know. He did so very publicly, that's something that he's given us as well, this record of this arc of his discoveries and wrestling with the questions that one wrestles with when they confront all of this. But I want to highlight that his attraction to this song and wanting to make up a melody to it, of this Tolkien piece, when he was 9 years old, by the way, he got on this video and sang the melody, but he relates that he made it up when he was 9, how he wanted to hear what the melody was when he was reading it, before he could continue going on reading the book. And also, something I've mentioned, his love of Robin Hood, having grown up in, in Nottingham, that obviously this was a man who was in touch with the biospirit, with the folk soul. Even that was there as a seed underneath the different layers of his experiences when he was younger. And I'm sure that that seed was watered once he began to learn more about his people and the crucial moment that we're at in history right now. But it's great to see that he clearly had since his youth this connection to and this resonance with our stories and our folktales. And even though the Tolkien material is newer, it's not centuries or millennia old, it doesn't matter. It still taps into our spirit. That's why it has such resonance to this day. That's why we're able to mine so many truths and so many role models from it, as we break down with Laura Lee. So he was very much in touch with that. And it goes to show how, again, another example, another lesson that we can glean from him is, it's, some people poo-poo this, but looking back to our traditions, our folklore, our symbols, our myths is an extremely powerful thing. And obviously that was living inside of him, even if it perhaps was dormant for some of his life. He reconnected with it later on, this kernel that was there from his youth. And you did this beautiful thing, Jason, of playing this video Simon put out, I think, last July, of him singing this little ditty. If anyone wants to search it, and we could put the link in the chat in a moment, it's I think it's called "The King Beneath the Mountain." If you listen, if you're hearing this in the future, you can search Simon Harris "King Beneath the Mountain." But on that point too, I am encouraging people to archive, to download. There's all these video ripper software or apps to take his material and archive it and save it. I know someone's starting a Simon Harris Archive BitChute channel, but we have no idea if his family members have access to passwords. Eventually, these social media profiles may disappear. We know we can't count on them at least being maintained. So please do take his material, save it, put it somewhere safe. But I'll put the link to, since we're talking about it now, I will put the link to The King Beneath the Mountain when we post this episode you're listening to now on the afterparty.tv and our respective sites as well. With that, Jason, I'm going to actually dip out of my phone here and hopefully get back on the computer for the full experience. So I'll be right back.
Okay, we'll talk with the audience. I see here that Zedez says, no, I haven't. I'll watch after the show. Thank you. Blow me a sweet kiss. Thank you, dear lady. Back at you. And yes, I tell the little joke about how I didn't know what it was at first, and you had to set me right. So thank you for that. And who else is here? And do we have any other questions? Yiz, the eunuch, hello to you, and writes here, I got to witness to a young college girl at my mother's church group today, or group lately, and I planted a seed that I hope will help, protect her at university. Well, thank you so much for doing that. I hope it does. Our young, particularly our young women, they go into, I've seen it far too many times, they go to university and they are absolutely infected with the purest venom that Antiwhiteism has to offer. They go from being bright, hopeful, energetic, kind people, many of them, not all, of course, to spiteful, anti-white, destructive weapons for the anti-white regime. So thank you for doing that. Thank you very much for reaching out and planting a couple seeds in her. Hopefully she'll get on over to this channel and start going free. And we'll make sure that if she does, and you point her out, we'll make sure she gets a go free on me. Art Acrobat says, Jared George and No White Guilt, I'm the one who contacted you about helping people produce white positive media. That's Art Acrobats. All right, thank you, brother, for letting us know. Is that a group email between the three of us? Looks like Mr. George has returned. Spencer's Thoughts says, how goes it, brother? it goes. So we're continuing the struggle, continuing to service to White Wellbeing. Harvey Specter says, I think I've asked before, but do you respond to DMs? I do indeed. I mentioned that I was from YouTube. You didn't. Is your name on the DM on Twitter? Is it the same as it is here, Harvey, or is it quite different? Message me again so that you go to the very top. I get so many DMs, and I love every one of you, and I get to everyone, and so that's why it takes a while to get to each individual. And let's see, I see Tasia is here. Good to see you, dear lady. Spencer's Thoughts says, how goes it? Aunt Sally, hello, my dear, and your wonderful friend as well. Let's see. Remitas says, I got my copy of your latest book today. I also told my brother-in-law, so that would be Prometheus Rising. So thank you so much for sharing that. You just received, and remember, if you want to send a copy to me, photo of the book, a copy of the photo with it, I will try to post it. And that, speaking about that, this coming Saturday when we have the official launch, I think I'm going to make a version of a Simon song that Jared was just talking about, and I played directly from the video, wherein he talks about having watched Jared, myself, and Laura Lee talk about Prometheus Rising and Lord of the Rings, and he felt compelled to share the story and the song of how he came up with it.
I put the song link in the chat.
Oh, okay, great.
I put that in the chat, and yeah, I didn't want to be on the phone too long if I didn't need to be, because the audio is not as good. But yes, right. I did connect it when we were talking about Lord of the Rings, of course. When you talk about tuning into the biospirit, the folk soul myth, new myths for the West, yes, everybody get excited, because if you don't know, you need to know we're having a big party. We want all of you to participate on Saturday. It's an extended show, multiple guests, including Philosophicat, our musicians like Imminent Rain, For Null, who've made material. They've written songs about Prometheus Rising, of course. That is contained originally in Born Guilty, and now it is its own publication. It has amazing artwork with it, and it's a standalone book, so it's all in one place. And the new publication just came out, and we are going to be celebrating that and honoring Jason's amazing work, his creation, his creativity, his intuition, his spirit. I can't wait to get more into it and hear some other perspectives. Jason's put together a very multifaceted program. It's going to be a really dynamic show. We're going to be playing at different intervals. We're going to break it up into a few parts. One of Philosophicat's videos from her Julius Evola series, Revolt Against the Modern World, and something in it about family lines and nobility. And it's a great example for us now on what we're doing. Again, a role model, something to aspire to. We were talking about Simon earlier, giving us examples to aspire to, being a little older and wiser than many of us in this. And Kat's video is in that same spirit. We're going to relate it to what we're doing, relate it to Prometheus Rising and Jason's whole mythic world there. Again, talking to artists, the musicians who have been involved. It's going to be a different kind of a tap, and we're going to have a lot of fun. You guys, anyone around, please do join us at 6 o'clock. It's going to go on for a couple of hours, maybe more like 3.5 hours on Saturday, and share it. Please share it, because we have to be the algorithm, as I like to say, as we're so shadow banned. But yes, there it is with the amazing artwork. You can see the front cover, the back cover, and yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm really excited too, and I think we have to. Simon's life. It's not it's a tragedy, but I think now we're at and there was the shock, but now we really have to view it as it is, as a family that comes together to continue service to White Wellbeing, and now it's a celebration of his life. I think that's really the phase we need to move into, and I think that celebration of Simon's life should absolutely be part of the official launch of Prometheus Rising, since they have concurred in time, and so we're going to have. I think I will take a look at that video, and since it was also it wasn't just like a thing that that he did that was totally unconnected to us. And he was watching our work, and we were fans of his, and he was fans of ours, and we all really liked each other. There's nothing that you couldn't like. Plenty of stuff you can't like. People find not to like about me, but there's nothing that you couldn't like about Simon, and anybody could get along with Simon. So I'm going to point out. Let me see. Remedius says here, I just wish. He says, I also told my brother-in-law, told my brother-in-law off for saying something anti-white. Well, remember now, I might really laud you for that, especially if he's vehemently anti-white. So it sounds like he is, and if he's vehemently anti-white, then yeah, you need the remedy to sting at that point, as it should. But if he is not, then remember, we have to be tactful when we are trying to bring people over. That's one of the new lessons just shared this past Sunday. Will be in iteration 2 of Go Free when we make that available. That we have to be tactful, and so we can say to someone in our midst that, hey, you really have a, let's say they're inside the anti-white narrative still, of course, because that's where everybody is, where they're lost. They're inside that matrix, using those terms. And you can say to them, hey, you really seem to have a grasp on this, and you explain it well, but you know what? I think you would be even stronger if you used this lexicon, and if you used these dialectics. That's a way to bring folks over that you care about, and you're going to have continued contact. Sounds like Remedius that it was brother-in-law was probably being a vicious anti-white, saying something really anti-white, and the truth hurts sometimes, and when it hurts, it's because it should. So I salute you for that. And then you write here, I just wish I wasn't a firecracker when I point out that kind of thing. Yeah, well, you might have to take a break. I've been in conversation earlier in my life, and this would be a suggestion I'll make for everybody. If you're in a conversation with someone about these sorts of things, and you feel your temperature rising because you can feel how just anti-white they are, the hatred, then one of the things that I used to do is I would say, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I would go to the bathroom. By the time I got back, my head would be clear again, and I would know exactly how to re-engage, and you'll find a lot more success.
Would you splash some cold water on your face?
I actually did, yes, a couple times. I did a couple times. Come back.
Sometimes you do have to take a breath and come back. I remind people you shouldn't tweet or respond to something on social media when you're in the heat of the moment and angry about something. If someone says something that sets you off, you can put the phone down and walk away from the computer for a minute, take a measured response, because it's so easy to get into this nonsense with people. And I know there's that urge, like someone's wrong and you want to correct them. But we all know the anonymity and all that online, it just makes it so toxic, unfortunately, sometimes. But you really have to think about how you're going to be productive, and maybe get through to either the person that you're writing to, or what's more often the case is perhaps the onlookers, just like in in real life debate too. It's not so much about the person you're talking to, it's about the other people observing it and the character that you're demonstrating. And that's why you have to keep a cool head, like what Jason's saying, is because everything, I know this might sound like a dirty word, but just off the cuff, just for a quick sketch of it, when you're doing something public, everything you're doing is marketing in a way. Even people that aren't necessarily content creators, but are in the sphere and participating in online conversations on Twitter, everything. There are other people who are watching and observing and tiptoeing around this and testing out the waters. And they're observing what we're saying and how we're saying it and the kind of character that we're demonstrating. We all can reflect on this. I'm sure all of us here, all of us listening, if you got into this in kind of the more recent iteration, the online stuff, if you had seen certain material and not other stuff when you were first getting into this, you might have been turned off. Maybe you wouldn't even be here right now. If the first few things you came across really rubbed you the wrong way, maybe you would have been like, this isn't for me. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, let me take a quick look at some of these other comments here. Mark writes, the 8-hour streams are great. Love the call-in section also. Plan on having more call-in sections. I don't know how many more 8-hour streams we'll have, but let me slide through. Remember, if you have any questions, to tag Jared or myself, and I'll look over at the question widget in just a moment. We have Raucous Drift saying, I have my book, Go Free and Prometheus Rising. That's fantastic, brother. Thank you for sharing that. And again, if you share your picture with me, I will do my best to show and share everyone's pictures on the party this coming Saturday, which is really going to be a big celebration. And Mr. George and I want you all partying, as I say in the video about it. We want you all partying as well. Don't just sit there and watch us having a good time. Get your beverage of choice and whatever chips or whatever that you, something healthy that you want to have a party while we are partying. Be a part of it. Marcia says hello.
Chips. Get your healthy chips out.
Yes.
Beet and carrot chips.
Yes, actually, those are quite good. Carrot chips are really good. John says, no, I guilt. I mean, I missed what you said earlier, or you perhaps were talking to somebody else, and then since you wrote no, I guilt, it tagged me. So let me slide down a little further, and if you tag me as NWG, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't turn orange. I won't see it. Focus Warrior says, I've been bullied by university teachers for refusing to repeat anti-white lies they teach. Thank you for sharing that testimony. And actually, I think that every single one of us have had a similar experience, whether a university, trade school, high school, whatever it might be, primary school, elementary school. We end up being confronted by some Ms. Wojcicki at the front of the room that says, you're going to think anti-white, write anti-white, live anti-white, and therefore hate yourself. Harvey Specter says something, the name is different. Okay, well, write me again and then say, this is Harvey Specter on your DM. That'll help me sort it out. Spencer's thoughts, sorry if I went overboard with the calls. You didn't go overboard, brother, not at all. We had a great time. You made some great points. And I always have energy to serve White Wellbeing, so 7.5 hours was fine. Aunt Sally says that her friend is in bed. It's 10 p.m. So it's 12:30 a.m. where Aunt Sally is, so it's quite late. So let's see. Art Acrobats. Oh, it was not. It was a shared communication. Jared and I have multiple. Jared G, I have multiple actors. Are you seeing that, Jared, on there from Art Acrobats?
Yes, I told them I would get in touch.
Okay, great. JK160 says, got my copy of Prometheus Rising. So many people, maybe, oh, here's Vivian. Great to see you, dear lady. So many people are going to have the book now that otherwise were upset. They weren't going to have the book in time. Vokish Warrior, will you put spaghetti in your nose to imitate the walrus teeth? No, I don't think. I think I'll pass. I really gave that up just this morning. So I'm putting the spaghetti through my nose. I thought, you know what? This morning it was going to be the last time.
Maybe if it's for a skit.
Right.
We'll see. If it serves our people.
And Spencer's thought says, I trust by, quote, no more 8-hour streams. You mean we're going for 12 now? Yeah, why would we ever go as short as 8-hour streams anymore? Let's see. Seaver Hamlis points out, oh, yeah, the punk band picture of Simon was great. Yes, he was in a punk band.
Yeah, isn't that? Yeah. He did a lot of different kinds of music. So I don't know what band it was, but yeah. Let me try to find that, and I'll put the link to the tweet.
Great.
Because it captures him at another era in his life when we didn't know him, but you get that energy, that rock and roll energy from him. It's a great picture.
I see K Max McDonald is here, and if you don't know, dear brother, I will be appearing on the Kato show this week. So thank you very much for helping with that. That'll be on Thursday night, everyone. I will make sure to tweet it and gab it, post it. Miss Jess Horst is here. Great to see you, dear lady. And let's see. Rib is here. I'm amused at their rage. I'm amused at their rage that I have. No, Michael. What rage are you feeling, and why are you feeling it? Steve Hamlin says, "What are the donation platforms that are currently good right now?" It is Cash App and Entropy. Cash App and Entropy. If you want to gift financially, Northern Man is here. Hello to you. Monty is here. Hello to you. Spear is here, and the chat leapt. Okay, so let me go over here and check on Entropy, and we'll get to this news story. We won't miss it tonight. Everybody who's interested in this hellish treatment and what is lying there at the end of time for each and every one of us, if we are so unlucky to end up in one of these healthcare facilities, senior homes, the golden years. The golden years goblins await all of us. And I tell you that it is just for white people that they end up in those places. But it is horribly, it is a horrible injustice for any other person to end up in that kind of environment. Now we have some financial gifts. Arius, financially gifting $3. Thank you, my dear friend. Seaver Hamlin is banning people for little to nothing. He permanently banned me from the D Live chat for me saying, quote, discussing ideas isn't promoting them when talking about Woods and Spencer. Well, I will ask you, Arius, and everyone who is listening, as I always do, to have patience when there is a disagreement about what is permitted or is impermissible to be in the live chat. We have, of course, a great pear-shaped demon standing over top of us in the form of, I won't bother to say the name. You all can think of her name. And she's just looking for any reason to cut the strings to the channel, to the work that we're doing. And we also are in a state of constantly being really interviewed by our brothers and sisters who are showing up and looking at our live chat for the first time. And they're any hint or whiff of the ne'er-do-well and the anti-white narrative, and they're going to see confirmation. It's called confirmation bias, and then they will flee. So keeping these things in mind, the moderators do their very best, their level best, and we review the things that decisions that they make, and they make some errors. I make more errors than they do. Sometimes people in the live chat make errors. So please be patient. If you feel, any of you at any time, that you were treated unfairly, perhaps in fact, I had somebody maybe about 2-3 weeks ago now wrote to me, and he did so in the most mature way, and I instantly restored him. So you can reach out to me, and he said, you know what, the moderator might have been right. I might have been wrong. I might have been right. Moderator might have been wrong. I'm not exactly sure, but I made a couple comments and I ended up getting banned. And I won't make those kinds of comments again. May I please be included again? Instantly, I brought him back. So if you approach me like this, I will happily bring you back, and just with some maturity, and giving room for yourself to be wrong and the moderator to be wrong and both of you to be right as well. We'll bring you back in. There can be disagreements, and we just have to observe, and then it's sort of like common law versus statutory law. We are learning as we go. So I thank you for your financial gift, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on that issue. Last Paleocon is also here. Great to see you, dear brother. Financially gifting $3 and writing, God bless all our families. Indeed, God bless every single one of us. Thank you, my dear brother. Dissident Agnostic, financially gifting $10. Thank you, brother. I haven't seen you in a while. Writing here, there has been much ado about police brutality and the death of non-whites. How do you reconcile this problem with the desire for racial exclusivity? Well, this is how I'm going to educate everyone on the moment, on the topic. And that is, there are, and you see right now in relation to some of the upheavals in the white positive sphere, people demanding that others take hard positions on questions that we have no power over which to effectuate. So, like little boys in a clubhouse, wondering and speculating and demanding obedience to thoughts on what they'll do when they conquer the neighborhood. That's what it is like. And while it is fair to say what might a future world look like here or there, where we recapture our destiny, it is fair to have those discussions and fair to speculate. It is a sign of socio-political immaturity to say you must take a position on something over which we exercise no control. So we need to mature socio-politically so that we can say, as mature adults, we can have a liking for one system or disliking for another, but who knows what it will be like. Certainly there won't be any sort of monolithic uniformity across the totality of wherever we recapture our destiny and whatever that looks like. There'll be a great amount of heterogeneity because as white people, we enjoy that. We just have to make sure that it's the diversity of our kind, of our ideas, of our beliefs, of our people, that is the diversity that we are celebrating, rather than the diversity of ideas that are anti-white and undermine our existence. So when you ask here, there's been much ado about police brutality. First of all, where does police brutality come from? It comes from a conflict that would not exist if there weren't an anti-white environment in which it exists. So the anti-whites are to blame about police brutality. The alternative is no policing. So it is their fault if there is some sort of difficulty between these different groups, which of course throughout all of time there always have been. And then you say, how do we reconcile the problem of the problem, you're saying, of police brutality with the desire? So the problem of police brutality or the problem of people discussing and believing that there is such a thing as police brutality. I proffer to you, in fact, I aver that police brutality is an element, it's a mean pathogen, an element of the anti-white narrative. Police beat people up. A police officer beat me up pretty good one time. He was white, I was white. Police officers are sometimes good, they're sometimes awful. Sometimes they discover that their wife has cancer and they're having a bad day, and then you get on their bad side and they're human beings. Sometimes they're monsters and they do horrific things and they should never have a badge. They should be behind bars. So sometimes police beat people up. But the idea that there is a focus and a particular problem of law enforcement brutalizing non-white people or any particular non-white group is an artifact of the anti-white narrative, and therefore we have to reject it. So either way here, you're asking about the problem and the desire for racial exclusivity. The question here becomes a non sequitur when we accept that a desire for racial exclusivity could be an element of recapturing our destiny. It could be an element in many places. It could be an element in a few places. It might not be an element in any place. There could be places where we recapture our destiny and white people say, well, as long as they are the supermajority in that area, it would be fine if there are good meaning and brilliant and kind non-white people who want to preserve Western civilization, want to preserve Western kind. So there you can see, if we pursue a train of thought down a road that doesn't need to be walked, we can end up in a place where we have taken a position on a foundation of sand, and anti-whites can then attack that foundation and divide us one from the other, and certainly divide us from all of those brothers and sisters we need to reach out in the population. So Dissident Agnostic, I really got to thank you for the financial gift and for asking that that question, because it really enabled me to speak to, I think, a lot of the misunderstanding that's out there right now in the white positive sphere. And finally, we have here Rum, the great Rum, financially gifting $5. Thank you, my sweet lady. Raise a cup of kindness to Simon's memory. Rest easy, good guy. Well, that's beautifully written and a great sentiment. So thank you so very much for that. A great participant in this community. Rowhouse just writes, Jared and Jason, this is over on the Talk Heaven widget. Jared and Jason spoke at a conference for Mark Collett. Do you ever plan to speak at one someday soon? How are you at public speaking? So Jared, that's for you. Are you going to be speaking at a conference? Would you like to? And how are you at speaking publicly?
I am certainly open to speaking at a conference. I would imagine that such an opportunity may come up. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Of course, the more we do such things, the better we get at them. Mm-hmm. So perhaps a little rusty, but I have been in front of audiences in the past, and I do enjoy it. As you can see, I'm a communicator up here, and that's one of the reasons why I chose to be on camera and do this whole thing on video and everything, the streams and everything else before. So yeah, I'm certainly open to it. I appreciate you asking.
We have Vogish Warrior. Do you guys have any events in the plans for summer, or know of someone in the sphere planning something? I was excited to see Jared Taylor bully EMJ, but that was canceled due to the we won't say the name, because the WHO wants us to call it COVID-19, and when we have that great big pear shape leaning over us, we will obey what the WHO says.
You know how you put it's over here, everything's reversed on my computer. You know, you put the wonderful TAP logo that Donald Kent did, the ironic TAP logo, because neither of us drink.
Right.
I do have to wonder if that's the best marketing. But it's been a great thing. It served us well. Kicked off early on in our trajectory as TAP, the Donald Kent illustration where each of our faces are cartooned on top of these taps, beer taps. But maybe how you start the show with it up there in that corner, maybe we could have a little picture of the walrus or the pear-shaped specter that you're referring to to remind us that there's always that it's the, what is it, the sword of Damocles. It's like the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads. It's heavy as the head that wears the crown. If we're up here speaking, we know we're putting our heads on the chopping block, and we have to be cunning. We have to be discerning with our language. We have to use the swords of words, as Jason was saying before when he was honoring Simon, and understanding the field that we're on right now in the day and age we live in. It's very true that most of the metaphorical battles are fought to win the hearts and minds of people. And that's why we're doing what we're doing week in and week out. And it's a long haul. It's not something that happens overnight, but slowly more and more people are coming to this every week. But yes, it would be funny to have the specter. Maybe I should not say her name. Say her name and she appears.
Yes.
Friends at YouTube hanging over us. But that's another reminder. I don't want to sound pedantic. That you have to get off. You have to get to, I should say, frame it positively. You have to get on some other platforms, spread it out, but especially the afterparty.tv is where you should always check. Because people say, oh, I didn't get a notification. Well, please bookmark the afterparty.tv/watch live now. That is the page that has information about upcoming shows, links to different platforms. And of course, you can usually watch the streams embedded right there if you choose to. So that is your weekly or your showly, what would you say? Every time there's a show, our little announcement about the afterparty.tv. But we do have to wean everybody off of the tube, because as we like to say, as we're starting to get this into our verbiage as well, that it's about the community. It's not about the venue. It's about the show. It's not about the theater. You know, if your favorite band all of a sudden played at a different theater than they usually do at the new theater across town, then you'd go show up to that new theater across town. You wouldn't go to the old theater. So all of these platforms, they're just the venue. It's really about us. It's about the community. And we're going to have to be nimble and flexible.
Yeah, precisely. Should be, by the time we finally get off of YouTube, I would be perfect at ballet at this point. Tamara, the kind Tamara, thank you so much, dear lady, over here on Cash App. And it's wonderful to see you as always. Financially gifting $2, and with it adding just a smiley face. So thank you, dear lady. That's very sweet. And we have on Entropy, Higgs Boson with $5 hopping dollars all the way from Aussie land. Your streams always keep me motivated at work. Rest in peace, Simon. And I'm very excited for Prometheus Rising live stream. Well, so are we. And thank you very much for that financial gift. We'll take, I think, at least one more question here, and then we'll get to this story briefly. We have Mr. Warrior saying, Jared and Jason, how do you deal with family ostracizing you for going free? Had my 2 cousins visit me today and felt a rift between us whenever saying something white positive. Well, first of all, I will say, and I'll pass this over to Mr. George if he has anything to say to it, that is that none of your family, none of your friends should ever be, you should never look at it this way, that they are ostracizing you. If you have someone in your life, friend, family, whatever it might be, and they hate white people so much, they are so mired in anti-whiteism, they're so sick with white noir, that your concern for white well-being is so troubling that they don't know that they can be around you, then you're done with them. You're done with them before they can be done with you. And I've had to make that painful decision. Now there are others who are in a, and by the way, I mean, especially when this comes to friends, but it's also true with family. I've said it a few times now. You only have so much room for friends and family. There are only so many, there's a limit there of head count of how many people that you can actually define as a genuine friend. And so if you have someone in your midst who is anti-white and they're otherwise a friend, well, get rid of them and make room for somebody who can be a genuine friend, somebody who is white positive. If you sense that there is a rift when you say something white positive, that doesn't mean that you're at the end of your relationship with these people or that they're about to ostracize you and therefore you have to ostracize them. In fact, it might be an opportunity. Remember that sometimes that sensation that they're uncomfortable, that another person is uncomfortable, is because they're being persuaded and they're living under an anti-white, quote unquote, morality that is telling them that it's evil to think those thoughts that they know are legitimate. And so be patient and be tactful. Try to bring them over to going free when you discuss these things. Make it brief if they're getting really uncomfortable, and then give them going free in small doses, and you'll be able to increase those doses. But like I said, it pains my heart. For so many years now, I've heard people in the white positive sphere saying, "Oh, I've lost," and then they name these family members that they've lost, and I've lost these. And they name these friends that they've lost, when really they shouldn't be looking at it that way. We didn't lose. I mean, if you found out that these people were advocates of child molestation, would you really consider it a loss? Well, anti-whiteism is worse because it incorporates child molestation and every other form of child abuse and every other form of genocide and every other form of everything heinous, the release of criminals from prison while the law-abiding are being locked up at home. And of course, we're only saying that takes place in World of Warcraft, not in the actual Western world. You all can determine for yourself whether or not the law-abiding are being forced to stay home and criminals are being released from prison. Just look into that for yourself. You'll find it in World of Warcraft. But otherwise, you're in a state where you are succumbing to white noir when you're saying that you're being left, you're being abandoned, you're all alone. That's not the case at all. These bonds that we're making here are as true as any bonds that you can make face to face. Every person that I've met online that I then meet in person is an old friend being met for the first time. This I can assure you, and everyone else who has had the experience can say the same. So, Mr. George, if there's anything that you would like to say to that question about being ostracized or doing the ostracizing, please go ahead, sir.
Not much I have to add to what you said. Just to reiterate, to be steadfast and take the long view. If you're getting very animated and if they're yelling, you're yelling back, that usually isn't as effective as if you just sit there and you're like a rock. Like you have to know and own that you're normal, that this is right, and that maybe this person in your life, as Jason was saying, all of us have been subjected to the programming, the media messages. So it's almost like you're patiently bringing a child along. That's not to say that with another adult, or especially someone older than you, to be condescending, but to be very steadfast and rock solid and knowing, just stay calm and knowing that you're right, you're on the right side, you're the normal one. And again, we were talking about this in a different context earlier when we were talking about, I like how you said this, Jason, we're always being interviewed. And I was saying that everything you do is marketing, even every tweet is marketing, or as Jason said, you're being interviewed by people who are new to this, who are just checking us out for the first time. Maybe they've only been around a few days, a few weeks. The same kind of sentiment that just as important as what you say is how you say it, the energy that you have, the confidence that you have. But I think Jason spoke to it beautifully. And so.
Thank you, sir. I was able to do that because I was reading your mind.
No, I think you were reading from memory everything that you've written and thought about it for so many years. That's why you've done the work in your own writing. So it's helped you clarify your thoughts.
Thank you.
You share it so wonderfully here.
I thank you, brother. Let me read from this story, and then we will, just a little bit from this, we'll get Mr. George's views, and we are getting ready. I really want to be, in fact, maybe I will, to close out the show today, instead of just the normal sign-off, maybe we'll play, as we close out, maybe we'll play a song, maybe another Imminent Rain, since we're going to be, from this point forward, getting as excited as hell. And so feel free, ladies and gentlemen, too. Like I said, if you've gotten the picture of the book, it's in your hand, it's in an interesting place. I said on Sunday, don't try any like three-way mirror of reflections and then somehow your naked ass is in. I'm going to catch that. I love the sentiment, but I'm going to catch it. And if anything, we'll if the picture doesn't get included, maybe I'll just make you look even sillier. But you can get a photograph, do something artistic, whatever it might be, and share it with me, direct message or email, and we will try to share all of them over the course of the big party that we're going to be having on Saturday, 6 p.m. when it gets started, and playing a lot of great music, as Mr. George just said. So let's jump over here, and it looks like the story here that I'm sure many are well acquainted with, and you can speak to this as well. So what we'll do is we'll go through this brief write-up on the story. We'll speak to it and perhaps speak briefly to whatever else you all may have written in the live chat that we didn't catch, and or anything new that you write in connection with this story and or the coming official launch of Prometheus Rising that we're getting excited about. Says here, I'm reading from I won't say the news source, but of course I will say this for everyone at YouTube. Everything I'm about to say is pure fiction, and you all get to determine what is truth. And you and CNN, MSNBC, the rest of you get to determine what is truth. So ladies and gentlemen, if you hear anything that I'm about to read by some author other than myself, and it somehow conflicts with CNN or MSNBC, then you know that it's wrong. Says here, for-profit nursing home in viral video is understaffed and run by criminals, yet still receives Medicare funds. We see I wish I could recall off the top of my head at the moment the amount of money that is stolen just from Medicare alone. This thieving, the corruption. Of course, this is only able to happen because we don't control our destiny. The viral video of 20-year-old non-white man, Jaden Hayden, viciously assaulting a white 75-year-old military veteran at a Detroit nursing home has shocked the country. According to a local news report, Hayden, who has a separate pending assault case, was taken to the facility after being diagnosed with COVID-19. Why a violent criminal with COVID-19 was being housed in a nursing home and able to get into the room of a long-term elderly resident has yet to be answered. You know, before I go any further into that, just seems like, I don't know if that's absolutely correct, but I just want to grab another news source because I can see the people salivating at YouTube right now. Let's read from this other news source. Second video, 20-year-old boxer with coronavirus sent to Michigan nursing home last week. Filmed second beating an old white patient was still there when cops came a week later. The brutal event is even worse than we thought. Very disturbing video circulated on social media on Thursday showing a non-white Michigan man beating an elderly, and of course this non-white, ladies and gentlemen, we have to translate this. It's an anti-white, non-white person. The immutable characteristic of this demon is immaterial. What matters is that he's anti-white. That is what matters. So Thursday, showing this anti-white Michigan man beating an elderly white man at a nursing home. Jaden Hayden, reportedly from Westland, Michigan, filmed himself beating elderly white nursing home patients. It says here for sport, and we'll translate again. It is not for sport. It is because he is an anti-white monster. It is to inflict as much suffering and injury on white people as he possibly can. And these are the ones he has access to. So these are the ones he's going to inflict this injury on. The man filmed himself beating the elderly man, later identified as a 75-year-old veteran, in his bed until he was bleeding. Judicial Watch said the watchdog group contacted authorities after he was alerted to the disturbing videos. This was also posted on my Twitter feed. And Judicial Watch contacted authorities who then, in response to our concern, arrested this person. Okay, let's hear some other things about this anti-white piece of wasted filth that needs just detritus, that needs to go and live in jail or whatever other penalty that law enforcement decides forever. And this is what I want to say about it, and I'll pass it over to Mr. George, and I will see what you all have to say about this. And that is that whether or not this even happened, YouTube, whether or not it even happened, we have seen these videos. They used to be far more prominent until there was a great effort to censor these things. And these stories, not just these videos, but these stories, it used to be quite common to see on the evening news, especially in my area, Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., where there were elderly people, and we know what the races were because they wouldn't cite the races. When it was reversed, the races are always cited. So they would say the elderly people or patients or residents beaten to unconsciousness, sexually assaulted, raped numerous times, mistreated, and etc., and then by an employee of the home or whatever it was. This was very common. This is your destiny. This is the end of your life that you have to look forward to if we don't recapture our destiny. This is the kind of thing that white people deserve. They are the ones who have created the environment where anti-whites of all stripes, whether they're non-white or white, are working in these places, and you end up there when you are as vulnerable as you will ever be in your life. The only time you are as vulnerable is when you are an infant. You will be weak, you will be sick, your eyesight will be poor, your joints and muscles will hurt, and they will be fit and heavy and well fed. And they will have been inflamed with an anti-white ideology that has convinced them that the world is composed of this great demon race that has inflicted and is inflicting endless injury on all of the innocent non-white races on planet Earth. Every single one of these beatings, of these rapes, of these molestations, of these maimings, every single one of these can be laid at the hands of every anti-white person you know. Make sure you have it on your tongue when you have these conversations. And you can even do it, as we were saying, in a tactful way. You can say to that brother-in-law, you can say, you know what? The position you hold there is anti-white. You want to vote for there to be no borders. You want to bring more people in and who hate Western kind, hate Western civilization, make very clear that they seek to harm us and to destroy us and white erase us. You make it very clear you are enabling this to happen. You, therefore, do you want to be responsible for these elderly people being the victims of rapes and assaults and even murders? Do you want to be responsible? Because if you continue to endorse anti-white ideology, you will be. You will be, and you are responsible if you continue to be anti-white for decisions being made by anti-whites in positions of authority who then send individuals infected with diseases that have a nearly 100% kill rate with the elderly, sending those individuals into these nursing homes, which are going to be predominantly populated by the white, elderly, and infirm. These are your grandfathers, your great-grandmothers. These are your mothers and fathers. And these, ladies and gentlemen, are you and me in those years when we should be surrounded by people that care about us, who are not there for us because they have been infected with anti-whiteism. And in anti-whiteism is this particular pernicious element of consumerism, where life means less than what they can buy. Life means less than the next widget in the next handbag. And so you get put into a home where they are guaranteed that you are going to be treated fairly, that you are going to be cared for. In fact, they're convinced that you are going to be receiving superior treatment than they would be able to give you at home, because they don't have all of the medical knowledge they need to have to care for the elderly. They don't know the biomechanics of how to help somebody get to the bathroom, of how to help somebody get into and out of bed. And so they're convinced that these people are going to give superior treatment to those mothers and fathers and grandparents they love. And in fact, the opposite takes place. They are subjected to criminally monstrous dungeons. That's what these places are. Dens of torture and death. That is what they have become. And so the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law, the mother, any of these people who want to be anti-white and articulate, they want to villainy signal, they want to articulate anti-whiteism, you let them know, as sure as they would let you know with the fantasies from the anti-white narrative that you're at fault for something that happened 2,000 years ago or 500 years ago and you have to pay as a consequence. You let them know that they're responsible for the rapes that took place this morning of elderly in these nursing homes, for the beatings that are taking place. Pull up this video and all of the other collages that people are putting together of hundreds of these videos where these malefactors celebrate and laugh and record themselves inflicting injury on what they believe are dehumanized demons because they're white. Pull up the videos and push their faces in it. Let them know that they are responsible for the golden years goblins and the hell that we all will face in those years if we don't recapture our destiny. Mr. George, I'll pass it over to you for your thoughts, and I'll see what anybody else has to say.
Well, there's not much to add to that, Jason. Again, I don't want to belabor the points too much. I was reading some of the chat as you were speaking. Jay Easom, who is always here and faithful, good to see you, confirmed my question that Tucker Carlson did address this. So at least we know that. I didn't see the report myself, but I think it's probably, I don't want to project our thing out into the world because, as I sometimes say, it's hard to remember sometimes where the heads of the normal people, the vagues, the different terms we use, the blue-pilled people, where their heads are at. But I would hope that it's getting harder and harder to deny these things and think about it, especially as people our parents' age may be thinking about eventually what their golden years are going to be like. It's a very poignant example to point out to them. Someone was saying that this guy was saying, this is my reparations. Now, that's not to take the blame off of him in any way. We know our culture is all too good at doing that. But to your point, Jason, the media and our education system is complicit in this because any kind of unease that this man felt being in a society that, yes, it's decreasing, but perhaps I don't know exactly where he lives and what his day-to-day life is subject to, of course, but to some degree, feeling like, and even if this is an implicit thing that he can't articulate, that he's living in a white society, an extension of European civilization that America is. We don't hear that term used too much, but I like to remind us sometimes, us Americans, that this is European civilization. If Asian people hundreds of years ago sailed somewhere and established a society where their aesthetics, their social norms, their architecture and everything looked like it did back in China, let's say. They sailed halfway around the world and on some island or some country somewhere established a civilization. It would be an extension of Asian civilization. Much the same way, America is an extension of European civilization. So this man felt this unease. He might have felt this unease, and he might have proclivities towards violence or be mentally unwell. Of course, as we like to say, probably a good time to mention you should check YouTube because they know everything. All of those things might have been there, but they were certainly exacerbated by our media system and our education system, as evidenced by him saying, this is my reparation. This kernel, this potential in some of these people is being egged on, is being encouraged, is being validated by our media and education system. But Jason spoke to the individuals in your life who may be anti-white and how they're complicit in it and ways to put this in their face. And so I'll compliment it by saying on that higher level, on that media propaganda, thought propagation kind of level, that those people who work for these organs of media and mass communication are complicit in this kind of thing. And as Jason, also you were intimating, this kind of story, you just pull the threads apart and it just shows that you can take a lot of different roads from this one little story about how topsy-turvy our country is. Many of our Western countries are. The Medicare angle. Why money? If we ran our civilization differently, if we ran our country differently, if our budget had different priorities, if our immigration policy looked different, then our healthcare system wouldn't be so stretched, so that we'd have to be, if whatever their motivation was, they're claiming that it was economic, that they had to use this person as an employee who was a criminal, who was out facing another charge of assault and has COVID. How does that make sense to be employing such an individual at a healthcare facility, especially with a vulnerable population, the elderly? And it also speaks to the social fabric, something I know is near and dear to all of us. We talk about a lot. I understand, and I'm not at that age yet. I don't want to make light of this. I understand that people in the chat, maybe a little older than me, have parents who are that elderly, and there are difficult decisions to make. We live in a society, and maybe we weren't as awake to this when we were a little younger and made these choices where family members, maybe for job opportunities or other things, went to different parts of the country. Especially America, it's a tremendous country. You may have people living on different coasts. You may have an elderly family member who lives down the street from you, but just has medical needs that you cannot address, and they need to be with professional staff. So I understand there are difficult decisions, but barring extreme circumstances, and I think about this in my own life, and I don't know how it's going to go, but I do tell my parents, I'm not going to leave you somewhere. We're going to have to figure something out. We used to have multiple generations living under one roof, or at the very least on the same block. So there's the whole social fabric angle too. This whole thing of just dispersing our elderly and seeing them once a month and having strangers take care of them in their last years. Again, I understand that there are extreme circumstances or difficult circumstances, and I'm not in that, so I don't want to speak of it lightly, and I don't want anyone to feel bad. Again, especially if your parents have legitimate medical needs, they might need that attention. I understand that. But we do, by and large, have to seriously rethink how the choices that we're making about what's most important, who to be around, certainly relates to how this stream started. The bonds that we have, the relationships that we have. When we were talking about Simon, he was a person who was all about his connections, his family, and those little moments, those dinners, those walks, those conversations. That's real life. That's real life. It's great to see family at holidays, but your life is 99% of the other days where it's just the in and out of day to day. And the people that you share that with, that intimacy of your day-to-day life, that is a sacred, precious thing. And I think all of us know this, but a lot of people who, I'll end it on a positive note about people who work in these elderly homes. I'm sure many of us have seen these memes or these little heartwarming quotes or stories that a lot have come out of these elderly homes where people work there, or maybe the residents themselves, who might be in their 90s or even over 100 years old, are asked what was most important in their life, what kept them going and healthy for as long as they did, what do they regret. It all revolves around the people in their life. It all revolves around connection. If they were healthy and happy and lived a long life and they didn't want to do it another way, they'd talk about their family and their friends and their loved ones and the contributions they made. If they had regrets, it was because they didn't spend enough time with the people they love. So please do bear that in mind. And I hope we can get some silver lining out of it. I hope more people wake up from this kind of thing. And I'm grateful to be here with Jason and with you all, speaking of connections, because this is what makes our lives meaningful. And this is what we'll remember at the end of our lives.
Very well said, brother. And ladies and gentlemen, anybody out there, if you enjoyed the thoughts that Jared and I shared on this Golden Years Goblin, then perhaps you might be the one who makes the video clip where you take some of the words from either of us or both of us, and you put it to the video of this and other such beatings and stories, newspaper articles, talking about the sorts of things that these anti-whites are doing to our elderly, and pointing out, I think, profoundly there for a great many of others to find on YouTube and on other platforms, wherever you post the video, that this is going on, that these are anti-whites, and that if we don't recapture our destiny, this is going to be the outcome. This is going to be the final moments for maybe not every one of us, but for many of us. It'll be the final moments of life. We'll be under the stinking leer of some anti-white laughing at you as you choke on the saliva in the back of your throat. So that's something to contemplate when you wonder if you've done enough today to go free. Higgs boson says here about the monster, he will probably be let off with a slap on the wrist. I'm sure he will, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll just be nothing. He will be, if this were a television show or a movie, we know exactly what the script would say, and so we know that that is exactly how it will play out in the real world. It'll be that he is actually a victim of white society, and he wouldn't be this way if it weren't for white society, etc. They'll fill in all of these blank spots on the script with anti-white, the mean pathogens, and the anti-white narrative. Art Acrobat says it's called a proxy army for a reason. Thank you for that, brother. I see Eternalism is here, and Jay Esom, and so many wonderful people are with us today, Jared. I'm just sliding through to make sure we get any other comments here before we get ready to wrap up. Over on Cash App, we have a financial gift of $25 from Arsenio. Thank you, my dear brother participant in the call. It's great to see you, and thank you so much. Saying everything he had to say with those $25, saying everything he had to say to the anti-whites. Volkish Warrior, I sadly suspect our elders are also subjected to sexual abuse. Yes, indeed, they are. We know that for a fact. You don't have to suspect any longer. There are a great many stories of that taking place. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, these anti-whites. Mike Anderson says here, the Twitter is where he sent the pictures. I used a different handle. I'll send you a note through the collectibles as well. I know you're busy. Well, thank you for the consideration there. Mike, you said something else also, but then the chat leapt on me. Volkish Warrior asking for my birthday? Absolutely not. Been in the white positive sphere for a long time, and there are certain things that you don't ask people, and you don't offer, and so that information you just keep to yourself. And usually the folks who show up and they're like, so when is this? When is this? And of course, there are going to be people of really good character, and they're thinking to themselves, I'd like to know when this person's birthday is, because I'm going to get them a card and I want to celebrate that day. But then we have to worry about the ne'er-do-wells who show up, people undercover, not necessarily law enforcement, but working for anti-white organizations. They show up and they want to get information to dox you, which is something you all should be concerned about when you go on to any of these blogs or forums or the like, where people are meeting and you think you're coming across somebody who's white positive. Most likely will be someone just like yourself, tired of the world, tired of the anti-white world the way it is. But remember that there is a slim possibility that this could be an anti-white faking that they care about white well-being. And so a lot of questions about, so where exactly do you live? And what exactly is your job? And what's your social security number? You should watch out for. Mike Anderson says, okay, that was the one I got. Oh, says also that he should make a Twitter identity. Okay, that reflects a pristine family. That's beautiful. Thank you. JK160, the guy that dropped him off, I guess this is the monster. A guy who dropped him off at the rehab center knew he had corona. The people that took him in knew it too. They didn't care. I guess they didn't care how many of those old people would get infected. Well, I'm sure that's been reported somewhere, but we are going to leave the truth or falsehood of that up to the good folks at YouTube. They can let us know whether it's true or false that he was actually infected and that people knew about it. It would have certainly, people are reporting that, so it certainly wouldn't be surprising that some sort of person in a position of authority would send an anti-white person in a position of authority would send another anti-white infected with a deadly disease into a home that is populated by old white people. Fraulein Dresden is here. Great to see you, dear Larry. So is Coconut. I swear, Jared, we could have our own Miss America with all of these good-looking ladies. Coconut says, read chats about what we have written. Read the chats about what we have written. I'm not totally understanding what that means, but maybe it'll become clear as I move through here. Can you tell us, oh, that was the, can you tell us the birthday? And let's see, I'm scanning to see if there's any more information that will make that clear for me. I don't. Eminent Rain is here. I sent you a pic of my new Prometheus Rising copy, but I was permabanned from Twitter, so I just emailed it to you. Thank you, brother. I'm sorry that they decided to censor you for sharing thoughts that are heretical. That is the world we live in. This is the great Eminent Rain, ladies and gentlemen. And we will wrap up tonight. There's the great Underhill. We'll wrap up tonight with one of his pieces, another one of the Prometheus pieces. And we'll be playing a lot more of him on Saturday as we're having fun. And we'll be talking to Eminent Rain live on the air during the party. It's going to be magnificent. So I think that's everybody there. Now let me refresh this. And unless I missed something, Jared, you could tell me. I'll step over here and we'll see. The question widget appears to be frozen. So if somebody asked anything on the question widget, it might be frozen. So I might not be unable to receive your question. I don't see any new ones. Otherwise, I think we're good. We've covered all of the bases. Mr. George, what are your final thoughts? What can we get excited about, brother?
What can we get excited about? Let me think. The party on Saturday, everybody. Join us for the party. And like we said, we're going to have special guests, the musicians that made music for Prometheus Rising when it originally appeared in Born Guilty. We're going to have Philosophicat. We're going to play her Julius Evola video. We might play the Simon singing the song. Prizes, you said, Jason?
That's right. We have prizes.
Sharing photos that people submitted of taking pictures of their copy of Prometheus Rising. Mine is on its way. I'm hoping it will be here by the time of the stream so I could at least hold it up. We'll have some lighthearted parts. We'll have some parts where we talk a little more in depth about this book, this mythopoetic book, and give it its due of the powerful images and meanings in it. Kind of scratch the surface there. I don't know if there'll be maybe some spoilers, but not enough to ruin the book. Absolutely. If anything, it will entice you to read it if you have not read it. But yeah, that is the big news. 6 o'clock Eastern time this Saturday, which is 11 in the UK. And we're going to have a bit of an extended show, a little longer than normal, and just be in total celebration mode. It will still be in honor of Simon. All the work this month is in honor of Simon. Please do, as I said, go save some of his work, archive some of his work, take some of the videos that you like from him and save them somewhere. We don't know how long his web presence is going to be maintained. And other than that, of course, speaking of archiving and protecting the work that we're doing, we're trying to be good archivists for ourselves. So the afterparty.tv, of course, is the center of all of our show activity, but our community activity as well. The Chuck Martells are cataloged there. A lot of the other community-generated videos are cataloged there. Certainly, if you want to make a clip from our show of Jason and or me speaking, it'll go up there. So that is the place. There's a newsletter there. We send out about one a month, so please get on the mailing list there as well. And then my site is thegreatorder.com. It also has all that stream activity, plus the other activity that I do and all the ways to get in touch with me. And as I just put on Telegram today, let me put this link in the chat before I go. I just got on Telegram with my own channel as well. And from what we know, Telegram is a little more stable than other social media in terms of announcement platforms. Very good, especially in terms of, we know Twitter is not our friend, and it's a little dicey as well. So please do follow me there if you'd be so kind. I'm going to try to get the link for you in the chat. But other than that, we're going to see you Saturday, Prometheus Rising standalone book launch party, celebrating all the great art, all the great thoughts, the great community that is around the hub of this book, and this wonderful contribution Jason has made to our culture. So we will see you all there.
Very well said, good sir. And I'm getting increasingly fired up. I'm getting increasingly excited. I don't know, might end up having to do like, I don't know, maybe live streams as I walk down the street to and from work, and just bringing everybody into the growing excitement. Now I see here that there was a question or a comment about Fraulein Dresden. As we're wrapping up here, I'll point out the great Angharad Celtic is here. Great to see you, wonderful woman. And said that something about some of these YouTube employees, and so being not necessarily American citizens, and we're going to have to look into that. Pamela Cedar Creek is here. Great to see you, dear lady. So is Yellow Gut, Machiavellia Sucks, Board Troll, so many wonderful people. And that these people who are working, looking at these videos and all, they might even be, I guess, are they overseas? Are they imported? I don't know. We'll have to look into it more. But I thank you very much, Fraulein Dresden, for bringing my and Jared's attention to that reality. And we'll take a look at that. Also, part of, I will say this, because I know there's some concern, and I think it has been mentioned a little earlier in the live chat, which I no longer can see. And that is that one of the elements of the organizational entity that I have been working on for now so many years, bringing into fruition, and we are still working on trying to get there, battling against a lot of people who are, I guess, stuck to the old ways, and this belief that there's going to be either some sort of suit-wearing, flippant politician that will somehow get elected to an office in this or that country, and then everything will just get better, because that's what happened with Trump. Everything just got better. They still don't see it yet. And then you have all of these other things. I don't understand why money ends up in these places where there is just a giant black hole and sucking sound, sort of like 14th and Florida here in Washington, D.C., a giant black hole and sucking sound. I won't say any more about that. But the effort is still there. And so one of the elements of the organizational entity is to ensure for as much as we can ensure and make possible that there is a safe place for our seniors to go in their final years, that they don't end up, those seniors who are white positive, they absolutely should not end up in one of these dens of rape and death in their most vulnerable years. So those individuals who have participated, who have been out there, who are going to bring their resources to their own care, we want to be able to have a place for them. And it is a big part. Both ends I've talked a lot about in public and in private, in the endeavor to construct this organizational entity and all of the attendant pieces, is that the most vulnerable members, the children and our seniors, those are the ones that we have to be protecting from the anti-whites. We need to move all of them behind us while we are able, while we are capable, and we can stand on those front lines. We have to stand on those lines. Doesn't mean you have to be there in your face, out front, but there are many other ways to be even anonymous and be on the front line and participate that way. But we are endeavoring to create a safe haven for all of us who participate in service to white well-being, who are going free and helping to spread this message, so that they don't have to be subjected to this in their golden years, those senior years that should be the best when they're surrounded by love, and then they can make that final journey that we will cross the divide and meet them again in the biospirit of our people and in service to the spirit of the West. So it has been a fantastic after hours. We went longer than normal, but that's okay. We had some electronic hiccups in the beginning. So we got
to go longer than it is somewhat normal to go longer than normal.
It's somewhat normal.
That is a tap philosophical paradox for you all to figure out. Think on that between now and Saturday's party.
Yes. And thank you for pointing that out. That's absolutely true. The tap paradox, but we have it happen all the time. So let's see. We want to close off with a song, and it's the Imminent Rain. You're here, so it's like the 5 guitars and drums, Prometheus. It's called something like that, and it is a rocking piece. And that is exactly the way we can wrap up today and ramp up the energy for this magnificent party that we're going to have on Saturday. Everybody better bring their party hats, and we will see if we can move over to that video now.